Hi everybody, my name's Kathleen and this is my first video. I'm the daughter of a narcissistic mother and a sweet, compassionate, enabling father who's deceased now. This is my first video to be added to the community of adult children of narcissistic parents and caregivers. I've been in this community for about 5-6 years. I've been no contact with my narcissistic mother for 6 years. Since 3 weeks after the death of my father, and also no contact with my golden child sister, older sister, and my older brother. I have a little sister who I'm in contact with, who I love very much, who is the lost child. I'm the scapegoat. I've been married for 30 years to a really good guy who's stood by me through all of the stages of the effects of what the lies and manipulations of a narcissistic mother can do to a person over the course of many decades. Anyway, I have 3 children. My eldest is 30. That means we're married 31 years, not 30, I forgot. Just had an anniversary in March. A boy. My second is 26, another boy. And my last child is a baby girl, 24. And like all of you, I just love them with all my heart. And thank God they'll love me too. And it hasn't been easy for them, believe me. I was angry. I was impatient. First, I was loving. I was so loving. I'm a sensitive. I'm an empath. First. But what comes along with that is, you know, decades of stuffed and swallowed anger and assaults, misunderstandings, confusion, kindness being taken for stupidity or weakness, and then actual weakness, not able to say no for many years. Any neighbor said jump, I said how high. Did it ever, you know, they didn't like this, I right away, just like my father. When we were little, one of the neighbors in our little town of Athens, Pennsylvania said to my father, hey, that rose bush in the back is put a scratch on my car when I came through my driveway. Maybe you should trim it down a little bit. He went out with a hacksaw and took the whole thing down to the roots. It was over. Just ripped the whole thing out of the ground. The neighbor was mortified. He said, I didn't tell him to do that. You know, everybody liked that rose bush. It was here for years. That was the end of that. And I was kind of like that with my neighbors here in the little city where I live. The first 20 years, I first 15 years, you know, I did that with my neighbors, and they wore me down. My mother, I don't call her a mother, I have no mother. My NM, she wore me down. Her lies. And I was talking with my husband the other day. It's not only what she did to me, what she said about me, like who would care about the lies? It's the enablers and their reactions that slow drip of innuendo does over the years. And they believe it. That's what wears you down. You know, my narcissistic nephew attacked my blog and said that I had no credibility, and one of you here on YouTube, precious one from England, stood up for me to him and told him she could see without a doubt he had narcissistic tendencies, and I can tell you he's an overt narcissist right now, but she figured him out right away and put him in his place. And she dealt with him for quite a while. He went back and forth with her for, if not months, at least weeks, a long time last year over my blog. I mean, she defended me. But there's a case in point. I've only seen this nephew in person a couple times in my life, and at least one of those, he was a newborn baby. So he said he told her I was crazy effing Pluto, man. I mean, where does he get that from? He wouldn't know anything about me in the few times I've seen him. I guess my reactions over some of those decades did come off crazy. A lot of what narcissists do are crazy making, you know, and until you understand what it is, you feel crazy sometimes. I went through all the stages that everybody else did here. And just like most other people here, my narcissistic mother, NM, kicked people out of the house and out of the family, from young teenagers to adults. I was kicked out of the family as an adult, already had my own home, but kicked out of the family by her 3 times. My little sister, she was kicked out and put in a home. She was signed over to the state for, I swear to God, for no reason. Just, she was getting close with my father. We were all building a house, and those two were really building the house together for my NM. And she was jealous of their relationship. My father was an upstanding, good, kind gentleman, good man, you know. These narcissistic mothers, they're just jealous of their children for no reason. Just disgusting. Who's jealous of their children? I couldn't imagine that, but that's what it was. So she kicked her out. I told them at the hospital that she was a whole pile of lies, and we found out what she told them to get the state to take her. That she was suicidal, that she couldn't be handled at home. The police, you know, had to be called because she vandalized somebody's house. People's lives were in danger. All this crap she lied about. That's how she made it seem on this paper. She said she was depressed, suicidal. None of those things were true. It was true that she threw tomatoes at a teacher's house with another girl and waxed the windows or something. I don't know. Of course, you know how narcissists, you know, exaggerate everything. My mother repeats that story to this day, every chance she gets. How she marched that kid to the hospital, and she told them in the social services department that she was not going to be responsible for, she was not taking this child home tonight, and she would not be responsible for what she might do to her if they do send her home with her tonight. So lickety-split, in less than 24 hours, that child was signed over to the state, 13, 14 years old, and put into she was put into a juvenile detention center with kids that killed their parents or sliced their parents with knives, or, you know, really horrible kids. And my mother made me ride in the car. It was in Blossburg, Pennsylvania, far from where we lived in Athens, Pennsylvania. My mother made me ride in the car. She'd scream the whole way, taking my little sister. I remember from Kmart, knee-high boots, you know, things that the poor kid didn't have at home. We were so neglected, and we had money. She just neglected us. So she took her things she didn't have: underwear, bras, boots, a coat, everything new, because she didn't have it. If she had it, it was tatters and rags. So she had to look good for these people. So we shopped and got her all that new stuff and took it. When we got to the detention center, she told my little sister, and all the way up there, she was trying to convince me that my little sister deserved this, that she had no conscience, that she was a piece of trash and all this. And my little sister, they brought her out. They sat us in a waiting room in this institution, and then they brought her out and sat her down across from us, across the room, on chairs. And I was sitting by my mother, and my little sister was across the room from us on another chair looking at us, and she said nothing. She just looked at us. I think I said, "We have all these things for you here." And my mother said, "Well, I hope you're happy. You're in jail now, in this detention center, right where you belong." I think my little sister might have said something like, "Mom, there's people in here that killed their parents. There's some really bad kids in here." You know, kind of like Midnight Express a little bit, like, "Get me out of here." And she said, "Right where you belong." Something like, "Perfect. That's exactly where you belong. You fit right in." And I sat there and didn't even glance at her with a kind look or a gesture or a touch. Didn't go over there. Didn't support her in any way. And drove back from that. Of course, she had to repeat the story over and over and over, how she got that kid signed over to the state in less than 24 hours. That no good, rotten kid. By the way, none of us were ever on, you know, illegal intravenous drugs, anything like that. None of us were ever arrested. We've always, since before the age of 18, supported ourselves, bought all our own stuff, bought our own cars, our own homes, had jobs, you know, decent citizens. But some of us took care of our, you know, was very good and took care of our parents. But I mean, you couldn't ask for a better daughter. To a rotten, narcissistic mother like that, and a good, loving father. You couldn't ask for a better daughter than what they had in me. I could tell you that, because I never gave up on them. Not till